and say welcome to Top of the Pops. This is the greatest hits chart countdown for mindfulness, a review of the year and some of the things that I absolutely 100% want you to remember and use and fall back on and integrate into your life. So it will be a bit stop-start because there'll be a bit of something and then we'll do a practice, and then there'll be a bit of something else and then we'll do a practice. And I'm just going to keep the video running through all of that, just so that we've got an entire record of the main points that I want to get across. So this is in response to a request to remind you what is mindfulness and what are we doing in mindfulness. And you'll remember that I used a glass as a way of describing how we walk through our life, looking through everything that we see and do through a prism, through a set of lenses. And that usually what is going into this glass, which makes it very murky and makes it very distorted, all the baggage from our past, so that goes in there. Our education, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but it gives us a particular way of seeing the world or a particular set of biases or assumptions. All our life experiences with all the other people that we've met and had time with, our work experiences, possibly the traveling we've done, or anything else that we've had an experience. So absolutely everything from the day that we first drew breath through to now has contributed to the way that we see the world. So clearly what is in your glass is different to what's in my glass, and nobody has the same glass. So it's impossible to duplicate exactly the set of experiences and assumptions and views that we have of the world. And therefore, all of us are walking around looking at the world in this way. And in philosophy, this is called a socially constructed view of the world, because we are constructing from our sociology the view of the world. And if you were going to therapy, they would be poking around inside, looking at all the things that have happened to you and pulling them out and examining them. And if you are in positive psychology, they are kind of encouraging you to tip it all out on the floor and to get a clearer glass. And what makes mindfulness distinctive, and also, in my view, the most useful of these philosophies, is that mindfulness says it's impossible to empty your glass or your container of everything that you've experienced or held on to. And so we don't try and change it, we change our relationship to it. And that's a very subtle difference. So we don't try and change what's in our glass. We say, this is us, this is me, this is what I am, this is how I am. And instead of allowing it to distort our view of the world or get in the way too much of our relationships, we just acknowledge that we're going to carry this around with us for the rest of our life. You know, all of this is going to be with us, and we can have it here, accompanying us on the journey. But it doesn't need to be the only way of seeing. And so the practice of mindfulness, the practice of meditation, if you like, is not jumping into the container. It's not trying to empty the container. It's simply saying to all this stuff, okay, I see you, thank you, you're here. But I don't need to focus on you. I don't need to get involved with you. I don't need to believe you. And I can continue to look forward and plan my life and develop wisdom and insight through my mindfulness practice. But I really, really don't need to be hindered by this distorted by this. Yeah, or it doesn't need to control me. So that's a very, very simple explanation of mindfulness. And it's also a bit of a description as to what we're doing when we meditate. So, as I say, in meditation, we allow all of this to slip away and we just move it gently to one side. We don't get into a fight with it. As I say, we don't need to get it out and analyze it. We don't need to empty it. But just noticing when we get caught on stuff that is inside of our glass and just saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, and moving it to one side and returning again and again and again to the object of our focus, the object of our meditation. So I want to also introduce some of the classic mindful meditations in this review of the year. So we're going to start with the simplest and one of the easiest meditations that I often teach to children. Just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy to do. So this is the 5-finger meditation. And remember, what we're doing is we are using this finger to synchronize our breath. So our breath goes in as we go up and out as we go down. But what's driving the finger is the breathing. The finger is not driving the breathing. So the breath drives the finger. The breath drives the finger. The finger does not drive the breathing. So that means this is concentration. To understand how quickly this finger goes up, we have to really tune in to that breath. And we really have to stay tethered to the breath with our mind so that the finger moves at the right speed. So follow your own breath, follow your own breathing. So you'll all go at different speeds, but basically in is up. And down is out. When you get to the end, turn around and just repeat the whole thing going back the other way. And turn around and go back the other way when you've finished. And again, just a reminder that the finger alters the speed depending on the breath. Okay, and very slowly, when you've finished, in your own time, come back to eyes open. So the reason that this is one of the first things we teach is because there's so much involved with it that it really helps our mind to let go of what's come up in advance of sitting down to practice. So it allows us to let go of what's in the past, and it also helps us to avoid jumping to the future and getting involved in worries or planning. Because you've got to control the finger, you've got to pay attention to the breath, and then there's the additional stimuli of the sensation of skin and rubbing. There's so much going on in that short practice. It really helps the mind come together. And a focused mind is a happy mind. And the reason a focused mind is happy is because it's not in the future and it's not in the past. And in general, most of our concerns, most of our worries are either about the future or they are about the past. If we stay here in the present moment, if we really pay attention to right now, there's probably not much wrong unless we're suffering from pain or some other physical affliction. Most of the other things that disturb our equilibrium are in the mind. They're mind states or emotion states. And mind and emotion states that are difficult usually sit in a different time zone. So they're usually in the future. They're usually in the past. Now we drag them into the present moment by continually picking at them. I've got a worry. I've had a worry since September. And my mind, whenever I stop, my mind wants to go there to that worry. But that worry is only present in this moment because I've brought it here. Actually, the worry itself, the thing I am worried about, is all in the future. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to be stumbling into my future blind and disempowered. So I will have a plan. I do have a plan. I have made a plan and I have started implementing it. But my mind will not let go of that worry. And that's not healthy. That's not good for me. You know, eventually what is happening is my tummy's in knots, you know, my digestion is upset. That's how people get ulcers and other illnesses that are aggravated by worry. So this idea of past, present, and future is really helpful for us when we do suffer from a difficulty to ask ourselves, is it here now? Is it really right here, right now? Now, if it is, then it is something that we might turn towards. And we've done quite a lot of work around turning towards something rather than pushing it away or grabbing onto it or pushing it out. So this idea that most of the stuff that our mind wants to fixate around is somewhere else is, again, very, very helpful for us when we are learning to cope with stress or anxiety or exhaustion. Exhaustion often comes from feeling like we've got to run very hard to catch up with whatever the future is. So I wanted to remind you also of one of my favorite pictures. And you've seen this before, but I think it's, again, something that I'd like you to burn into the retina so that you never forget this. And this idea that we have this spiral of decline where something happens, we worry about it, we agitate over it, maybe we don't sleep so well, we get a bit tired and listless. We make some mistakes at work. We then worry about those mistakes. We lose more sleep. We get achy and we get grumpy, and people say to us, come and have lunch, or people say to us, come and have a drink, or our friends invite us to have a Zoom or something like that. And we say, I haven't got time, or I don't feel like it. And so we begin to cut out of our life many of the things that are restorative, many of the things that regenerate us. So this spiral of decline, it's called the exhaustion funnel, is a sort of self-diagnosis about, am I driving myself down and down and down? And doing something small and early on this downward spiral is the most effective way of beginning to work your way back up to the top of the spiral. So noticing as you spiral down and not waiting until you feel like doing something. You know, we don't wait until we feel like going out with friends. We get up and we get going and we get doing. And then there's this slightly invisible line here where something clicks in our head, and instead of just feeling like life is difficult or life is SH1T, you know, we begin to feel like it's us. So it's not that the circumstances are wrong now, we begin to feel that it's us that's wrong. And that's a really important change that happens. And it's at that point you need help. You need to ask for help from the employee assistance program or HR or your line manager or your best friend or your parents, or you need help. So there's a point at which, you know, working your way back up this funnel is just too difficult to do on your own. And the way to know when you're sort of reaching that point is whether you feel like the world is difficult and you're here just coping, or whether you feel the world is now telling you you're difficult. It's you that's wrong. And that's a very pernicious switch. So notice that. And then on the left-hand side, what I've listed is the things that we can do to help ourselves restore and re-energize and refresh. So obviously sleep is our number one psychological need. So making sure that we are sleeping and sleeping well. Maintaining our connections with friends and families and colleagues, and just not cutting ourselves off from other people. Laughing, having exercise, fresh air, going to the gym. It doesn't even have to be a power workout. It can just be a leisurely stroll in nature. And some of you will have done the mindful walk that we did in summer, where I invited you to put headphones on and go out and just explore your environment. Doing your thing. So this might be knitting or crochet, it might be skateboarding, it may be playing chess, it could be all sorts of things, but something that is in your life where you feel that you have a degree of mastery. You feel that, you know, this is something you've invested time and energy and you get pleasure from. This is a very helpful hobby or craft or activity that, again, you might feel when you're tired, when you're not on top of your A game, that you haven't got time or you haven't got the inclination to paint. But actually, don't wait to feel like it. Just get on and do it, because it's that sense of mastery that will help you to refresh and re-energize. Learning something new, and of course, the thing that we've been exploring all through the rest of the year is mindfulness. So this slide is really, really important, and I really want to make sure that you know it and you remember it well. So let's try another bit of mindfulness practice. If you sit straight, feet flat on the floor, and put your hands on your belly. And we're just going to do a very gentle belly breathing exercise. So just settle in, shut your eyes. Place your hands very gently on your belly. And now take the mind inside of the body to where the hands sit. So it's almost like you're on the other side of your hands through your own skin. And watch the breathing. You're not changing the breathing. You're just watching the natural rhythm of your body breathing. When you have your hands on your belly, you can tune into the movement of the breath, the feel of the fabric on your belly, the different sensations through your hands, hot or cold, movement and still. This posture, sitting here, feeling your belly, allows you again to tune into the breath and also tune into the sensations. And breath and sensations all happen in the present moment. You can't take a breath from the past. You can't take a breath for the future. You can only take the breath now. And it's exactly the same with sensations. And you may find that your breath sort of disappears after a while, or it might be becoming more pronounced. You don't need to react to that. You just are noting it, taking notice. And when you're ready, just begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. Maybe put some movement into your head and roll your shoulders and come back to eyes open. So I wanted to do two other bits of theory with you and one other meditation. And then we will stop the recording and have a discussion so you can give me feedback. So the other bit of theory I wanted to go through was this idea that mindfulness can be thought of as ABC: awareness, breath, and curiosity. And you may recall that ABC also stands for some of the bad habits that we have. We have a tendency to be on automatic. We have a tendency to be a bull in a china shop, and we have a tendency to be trying to control the uncontrollable. So when we are on automatic, because of the negativity bias of our brain will tend to wander to a problem. It will tend to wander to something that it wants you to fix. So being on automatic is why we say focused mind is a happy mind, because a wandering mind is usually an unhappy mind, and a wandering mind is usually wandering because we're on automatic. And just to add in another A, automatic leads to anxiety, and the antidote is awareness. So similarly with bull in a china shop, so all of us need goals, all of us need to pursue a purpose in our life. But sometimes we get very, very fixated and very tight about what we're doing and what we're trying to challenge ourselves to overcome. And so this idea of a bull in a china shop, and that hardness, that dogged determination to overcome something at all costs, and that cost might be to ourselves, is why we need to pay attention and just move our attention to the breath. So when we find ourselves pursuing goals and we are damaging ourselves in the pursuit of that goal, that's a very good clue that we need to add a little bit more mindfulness into our lives. And curiosity is the antidote to control. So again, a bit like bull in the china shop, control is an important part of the human experience. We like to feel like we're in control of our lives. We like to feel that we have agency. And some of our self-esteem is reliant on that belief that we have agency. So we're never going to completely let go, but there are times when we do need to do more letting go. So moving from control to this mindset of curiosity is very helpful. So if you need a helpful mnemonic, it is A for automatic, moves across to awareness. B for bull in a china shop, moves across to breath. And C for control, moves across to curiosity. So the ABC of mindfulness is just a simple way of reminding yourself what it is we're doing here. So let's do one more meditation together. And this is called the box breathing. We breathe in for 3 counts. We breathe out for 3 counts. We breathe in for 3 counts. We breathe out for 3 counts. So in your mind's eye, you just keep breathing around a box. If 3 counts is too many, you reduce it. If 3 counts is too little, you increase it. But you increase it to the point where you can keep this box exactly even. So you want the same number of counts on all sides of the box. So settle in. You might want to put your hands back on your belly, but you don't have to. But the first thing is just to settle into your body. And this is the only mindfulness meditation we'll do today where you're going to change your breathing. Every other practice we've done, you use whatever the breathing is already. So when you're ready, get started. Breathe in and count. Now alter your out breath so that you have the same count out. Breathe in, same idea. You match the count for the in-breath to the others. If after a while the box breathing gets tiring, just take a break. Keep your mind tethered to the breathing, whatever the natural rhythm is. So you can just relax back into the natural rhythm of breathing. And then when you're ready, start box breathing again. Okay, and when you're ready, just begin to wiggle fingers and toes, stretch, yawn, whatever you need to do. Come back to eyes open. So lastly, although we talk about mindfulness as meditation, mindfulness is more generally this paying attention, being present and showing up for whatever we're doing. And in this respect, there are 100 different ways that we can practice our mindfulness. We can use any of the things that we are doing in the day as kind of transition points or mindfulness points. So just as we step through the doorway into a meeting, we can take one breath and be fully present. when we wake up, when we get up, when we have a shower, when we sit at our desk, when we log on. You know, there's just a million points during the day that we can turn into mindfulness moments. And it's that integration of mindfulness through our life, through everything, that really begins to transform our experience of life. It begins to show us, firstly, how often we are in la-la land wandering away. And it shows us also that there's great joy in the present moment. There's things here that we are just allowing to glide past us unnoticed. You know, that this coffee that I am drinking is a small taste miracle, but it's also a miracle of all the people who were involved in picking it and roasting it and packaging it and marketing it and selling it. So the coffee itself is only one aspect of that appreciation of how it enriches my life and how it feels to drink the coffee. So I'm going to close the video recording now and invite us to spend just the last few minutes of this session together, sort of talking about what I've